Welcome to the new lesson. We continue working with the hero block. Don't forget to turn on the compiler. In this lesson, we will work with the save.js file. We need to implement the structure of our block's body for the front end. Therefore, from our edit, we will copy only the part with the layout. That is, this part of the HTML, and transfer it to the safe. It will be returned to us right here. Next, note that the components loaded in the admin panel, for example, use block props. Here we should refer to the save key. That is, this key is directly for the front part. In this way, we remove the comments. Next, rich text. So this is a component, speech, text, and in the admin panel, you saw that when we click on it, toolbars appear, and we can make something bold. So on the front part, this functionality is not needed. So here we refer to the content key, and only the content will be loaded. Everything related to the front part, in principle, remains the same. Now, when we add the body and save the block, it will already have the necessary components in the body and should save our data. Let's update the block on the pager. So the component itself, rich text. I didn't connect it. That's why I have an error. Maybe not only because of that. Let's connect. Rich text it too in the detect block. It is located. Loaded the rich text, the rest, well, of course, on change. We remove it. Here, we don't need it. We are not changing. This is our front part. Next, of course, we didn't load the variables themselves. It's like they say, haste makes waste, so we are loading the attributes. Next, we get these attributes and use autocomplete for title, description, link, and water video. And match. Nothing else is being checked anymore. Nothing else. Now everything is loading. We need to do a recovery since we changed the body on the site. Recovery done. We add content to our field. Save the page. Reload this page. And as we can see, the content we added is successfully present here. Let's use the bold tag strong in this way. Add some description. Add a button. By the way, the button is not a rich text component. I can't click here and edit like I can here. That is, rich text is used here. You can here, you can't here. When I click the button, nothing happens. It just highlights the block. Be aware of this. Let's save. Update. Select the block. See, the tag is saved. All other information is saved. We can take these data directly from the design and insert them since they are already saved. And we need to color it blue. This word combination, as you can see, we also have a line break in the layout here. Of course, we can solve this with CSS by setting the width to 700 pixels, and it will automatically adjust, but we can also try to set it like this. Since the components here are rich text, it supports a number of tags, and in this simple way, I added, you see, I have a line break exactly where I need it. Next, let's take the remaining text. And the anchor or value for the button. All right, let's take a look at the main pages. So we haven't made our page the main one yet. Let's make it so. We go to the admin panel, go to Reading. In Reading, select static page, and here we use our field as the main page. Then we return to the main page. And now our block loads on the main page. All right, what else do we need to do here? We need to save these logos, so let me save them. I hold down Shift and select all the logos. Then I export these 7 logos. I export them in SVG format. We also export the white variation for the logos. Here, Figma doesn't allow me to export them like this. I'll switch them to design mode. And in design mode, it allows it exporting also in a SVG format. Save the logos. Next, I will upload them here. So, one variation for the light version, another variation for the dark version. It seems our component isn't working. I don't see any changes. Let's figure out why. Switching to edit. Let's see where we have the saving. So at the end of the previous lesson, we added a type, the third parameter. But I don't remember if we edited the handler itself. We need to pass it here as well. Image type. Next. Let's check. Now, this thing indeed works wonderfully. White is not visible because the background here is also white, but the image is present because something else is added here. This is clearly visible. Let's save our slider. Refreshing the page. You see, upon saving, we are losing data because we still made a mistake somewhere. Let's see what we can fix. Well, yes, there are problems here. Even when we add a slide, we add it with one image, as it was before. Let's improve our code a little bit. So, this is how it stands. We will do it this way. Next, this is the slide. Light and dark, and our match will be like this. Let's test it. Load a new slide. Excellent. Now our loading works. Save. Refresh after saving. Select the block. Here are our logos in place. Wonderful. I will pause the video and upload to the admin panel the remaining logos. Let's continue. All logos are uploaded. Next, we should add some CSS styles so that they are visible, at least these white ones. So, let's go to the code in the editor. This is the file that directly handles the admin part. Let's take some class. Let's see what class we have here. We can attach our class to this class that we set up. And first of all, this one, overview. It will be thick. It will have a margin of 16 pixels on top. And at the bottom, 24 pixels. Next, our image does not have any containers. I think it's worth adding it. Because we will use this container to attach a background color. So let's set it differently. 5 pixels. We'll center the image and set a background color. A gray of this type. Here's what we got. We have 2 containers. Forgot 2. I'm also adding to the same div. Now you can read and see here that is the logo. Further, here I don't like. Here you see the margin is reset. The one I set, WordPress also has its own styles. Some of them, I'll try to override it. And if not, you just need to add classes and strengthen the selector. But that was enough, consequently. The bottom margin, I think, is not needed. And if it is needed, then something like 8 pixels can be added here as well. Margin, bottom, 16 pixels. Yes, well now it's much more comfortable to use this component for uploading logos. So we've done half the work. Now we need to extract these logos right here in this part. So let's go back to the site and take a look. The body of our container. We have the main container. We have the content. And probably after it, we'll add another one. You know, I haven't used the wrapper anywhere yet, but I have it. And overall, we will need to slightly edit the block, not the block. 7 JSON, so we have a rapport of 1540. In our JSON file, there are completely different values. We'll edit this right now. So, 7 JSON. We look for the key, layout, here it is. And our content site will be 1540. And the width is also 1540. Even in the admin panel, when we describe it, since everything here is narrow, we need it to be wider. So we will also fix the colors now. Let's get the logos for now. Let's not jump ahead. They are stored by key. Slide. If we have something in this key, we will basically show them. We will display them in a separate container. With the class, let's use autocomplete with the class hero slider. We go through the array for each slide, creating a separate key, but let's have a few divs before the array. I will need them for the initialization of the slider. Therefore, a div with the class. Slider, container. Inside it, we will have with the class. The swiper is here. And in this wiper, I will now display my slides. Further, in my slides, there are only images. Text should not be present here, but I will have two images. One dark, the other light, and depending on the theme. In CSS, we will either enable or disable the necessary image. Therefore, the logo design features a light version with the last name prominently displayed, followed by a dark version of the logo. This combination creates a visually appealing contrast that highlights the brand's identity effectively. So now it looks good. If I update this block, its body has changed. So the slide error is actually not loading. Let's do a recovery. Save it. And here are our logos. The next step is to edit a little JSON. Let's set our variables. So, boss, color. What color is here? It's this dark color that goes into the background. So instead of base, we will use our background color. In the admin panel, we won't have two palettes. It's not needed, only one palette. So, for this base, a variable is created, and we'll see it below. It's a whippy preset color of this type. And the keyword will be base. Let's find it and we can for it. Replace the value. Here it is, yes. We can pass it here. And if I set this color for the main one, accordingly, for the dark version, I will set this color. So, this data, again, will only be applied on the front end. Since we don't load this file in the admin panel, as I said, it's not necessary for me to make this page in two versions. It will only be in one version. There isn't even a switch here, meaning there is some functionality that simply isn't needed. So I remove the color and now it uses the background that is required on the site. Let's check here on the front end, refresh, to see if white is used. If we switch, and the WordPress variable, which is set in JSON, also switches. In principle, I won't use this variable anywhere. I don't need it. But for the default blocks, which we won't even remember or edit, those blocks, they will also inherit these colors and will work in both the dark and light versions of our site. For this reason, all other variables also need to be carefully corrected like this. Next, contrast. That is, contrast is the opposite, color. Let's see what we can replace it with. We have our own contrast, so we use it. But for dark mode, when I enable contrast, we will definitely set this white color . Primary and secondary are colored, such as red or blue. Meaning, primary is colored. Secondary is also colored. We have two of our brand colors, and we will use them. That is, for primary, we will set the first brand color. And for secondary, we will set the second one, brand color. And transparent accordingly remains as is. You can also change the gradients to white primary, white primary, white primary, white primary. Further, here, secondary primary, so we set it like this. But we will not use it, of course. These gradients we will use our own, and here we have primary contrast, meaning contrast. And about the primer. So good, we leave everything else as it is, like the system font. We can insert our urbanist here. We can simply set it through C on bugs, and that's it. And it will inherit only in other places where other fonts will be used in the admin panel functionality. It will override our body in terms of size. We don't change anything for our design elements. We will set our own sizes, and all these other variables and styles will be applied to the default blocks. There is also something here that we might need to edit. These are the paddings for various pages. I will show you. I will refresh our page once more. And if we go through it carefully, you see we have added padding, top up and margin top. These values, here they are. This is the padding which needs to be removed further. Also the margin should be present somewhere. Here it is. We need to reset these values so that our Kira sticks to the header. So let's find these values. So here they are. The template body adds padding of 50 pixels on top. I simply reset this. Margins are added for post content. I reset them too. And it seems that's enough for me. If anything else is needed, we'll fix it as we go. The changes with paddings were not accepted. Apparently not there. I edited for specific blocks. Here apparently there are others. This dynamic is added to the BP block. Padding, well, let's try to copy it like this variable, and see where else it adds. Maybe I missed it in the JSON. We'll find it later anyway, since we don't have it here. It's not set here. So we'll need to go through the editor and edit these blocks in the editor. We go to the editor. We are currently on. We can even access it through the page like this. Home page. So for the home pages, we no longer need the title here. We move on to editing the content directly for static pages. Remove the spacer too. And we don't need the group here at all either. We remove it for the pages as well. So essentially it's the header, then the content, then the footer immediately. Now we don't have this group that added padding, and the header has moved up, it has stuck to our block. Next we need to style this block. For styling, we will use a file inside our block. Here it is. Next, it has a different class. It is dynamically generated. I won't write it by hand to avoid mistakes, but I'll take it from here. This is the class. Let's write the following code. We need to make it full screen. Look, right now, our container has some margins. We need to make it wider to go beyond our wrapper. Next, the parent here has paddings. Note that these paddings are dynamic through a variable. Therefore, we also need to set conditions to go beyond these paddings to stick to the left and right. We are trying to implement this, so we will make the width imports. We will immediately override it with important. We strengthen as much as we can. Height, that is the height of our block. Header, so let's choose a header of 1080. But in the design, it goes under the header. And for us, it starts here. And the header, we have 100 pixels, 1080 minus, so it turns out to be 980. We set this static height to 980, then the maximum width also to 100. Viewport, we set. Now, the margin. Let's set these for the parent. You see they are in the form of padding. Therefore, I will copy this variable and set the margin, right? Using the call function. I will refer to the variable I just copied. Right, I lost one letter, but I need negation, so I have to multiply it by -1. The same goes for the right, or rather now the left side. So margin left. Update. So now, firstly, the video has stretched. Our block occupies the entire necessary width, but it doesn't overwrite the paddings. There is still this patent here. Apparently, something is overriding it. If we look at the source code, we see that for our block, indeed, these markers are being overridden. In such cases, we need to strengthen them. Let's look at WordPress, what we can latch onto. And usually I strengthen by taking something from the parent and simply strengthening my selector, that is body, some parent, and my class should help us. As well as another aspect, our video itself. It needs to be positioned. Absolutely, to occupy the entire area. Therefore, the position on the parent is set to relative video. And importantly, don't forget that we have a mode with a photo. Then write styles for the photo as well. Video of us will be absolute positioned. So let's use autofill, use width, 100 viewport width, height 980. Height 980 pixels. Object feet cover and Z index 0. Now, when the video fills the block, we will better see what size it applies, and we see that our block still can't override it well. It still needs margin left. It's not working. We need to strengthen it, add important here. Now, our video is nicely positioned. It's positioned absolutely, so all the other information is covered. But we will write styles for everything else as well. Probably in the next lesson, so we will stop at this point. By the way, the styles we write here will also load in the admin panel. Therefore, in the admin panel, we will see the same site implementation as on the front end. Of course, there are issues, like here, such moments, scrolling is needed, and it's worth adding overflow to the container so that such scrolling does not appear. But we will deal with this in the next lesson. That's all for now. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next session.